Good afternoon, David, or good day, or good morning, wherever it may be.
What does it matter? We're here talking about things, and whatever we say will be good, bad, or indifferent, but we're here.
And that's right, they can find good, bad, or indifferent on
Yep.
Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and Substack for
Mm-hmm.
No Art, No Life. And this is our 41st episode.
Please bring what you can to help us with the links or whatever to get our population higher. We would really like to, know that we exist in a world now so teeming with nonsensical things. I mean, the junk that I see on TV alone
Mm.
drives me mad.
Mm.
Just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What about you? You have any good things today? I mean, you came in on the train. Did you have any, problems? Did you see a beautiful woman walk in of any age?
Let's see, it's still that time of year where everyone is very insular and covered. So I too felt very insular
I see.
and private in my motions today. The
Yes.
ground is still gritty and sandy and
Mm-hmm.
besooted
Are
from
you
the
doing any swimming in the bay?
No, the ice is retreating, and at night from a distance, I knew for the first time, a kind of Thoreauvian observation from my window, that the ice must have, to a degree, vanished because suddenly the reflections were there again of
Mhm.
lights. So everything that usually is in duplicate returned. In winter, I noticed when the harbor froze over, duplicates vanished. There was only the original of something. And any kind of consideration, I told myself, had to be considered within. But in summer, it seems as if the water does interpretation for us and
Mhm.
shows us some kind of reflection or abstraction of an actuality.
Yes, it can go back all the way to Narcissus in the Greek world.
That's what I was thinking. But here was the strange twist. When I got closer to the harbor, I noticed that the ice was still there in many places.
Mhm.
So it must be only small patches
Mhm.
that I'm used to relying upon for giving me those reflections. And those must be the places that are always free of ice because, or mainly free of ice, because I rely upon them to show me the lights of houses shown in a kind of
What a,
otherworldly reflection. But when I got close, it didn't show me that the ice isn't still there in the foreground.
you think that many of the people listening, the 5 million people listening, understood your concept there of lights and ice?
I I have hope that they do. Because I'm not saying that in any way what I just said mirrors the loftiness of Thoreau, but he spends a lot of time, and that's a book that many people say that they worship, examining the transition from the frozen pond into spring, and even giving the solid dates that happened over the years as to when the pond was free from ice, only to reveal that what would seem like mere documentation is going to have a metaphorical leap into rebirth. Tremendous.
Metaphorical leap into rebirth.
Yes.
Yes, Thoreau was an amazing man. He would have been a little out of place as Emerson was not
Mm.
in Europe, right?
Do you mean did he have followers
No,
like?
yeah, he of course he would have followers, a few followers, as Whitman would later in Europe and so forth. But I don't know if he would have been comfortable in the European setting as the austere New England setting that he chose, I mean, that he lived in.
Right. Well, I mean, he made it a point, even in Walden, where one can see little wry remarks dismissing even Bostonians in respect to his remove in Concord, which is only 18 miles, I think, from downtown Boston. So all the time when the train passes the pond, or there are remarks where he mentions the people who are on their way in the cars to the oratorios. I think that's the exact word he invokes. Those who are on their way to see the oratorios, in a sense, are neglecting the oratorio of nature on hand. And the same analogy for the forest, always changing to a degree as if it's an exhibit, as if a curator is on hand, constantly changing the pictures. whereas people are having to get on the cars, meaning the trains, to go see a exhibit that changes so less frequently in a gallery.
Did they call them the cars then, or
They seem to call the train
the
cars
or the
the cars.
passage, the what other word? Carriages?
Carriages, all sorts of train words that have altered from the 19th century. I love the phrase that is used for the railroad ties. At that time, they called them sleepers. I think because to a degree they resemble a human form lying down and holding up the rails.
I see. That's lost. Well, you just revived that thought for at least 40 people.
Well, there's a lot about the train, not only in Walden, but the train is an obsessive technological thing in Melville, and also, of course, in the notebooks of Samuel Butler that you and I spent a lot of time looking at those remarkable passages that look at the steam locomotive very much as a premonition
Yes,
of the machine.
We're going to definitely read that paragraph that Butler has left us in the 1880s or 90s about get rid of the machines. Now give it no quarter.
Right, and amazing that he was looking at the locomotive as a premonition of a machine that was being designed and refined to replace us.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes.
look
yes.
what a primitive machine he was citing and feeling that gave him that fear. And look
Right.
where we've come.
Would he have thought about the well, he and William Morris and Ruskin, they hated the train, and they hated it for the ugliness of the train. They felt, you know, that thing coming at you and the smoke. A lot of people saw it as a miracle of progress, and I suppose that as the population grew, these long trains would bring in from California or Florida oranges and bananas or whatever the East craved, and then when they got refrigeration, that was a whole new world in the world of the what do you call them, trains. Now I don't care for any locomotion, and I hate what I must say is the they call that the Iron Horse. I call the airplane the Iron Bird.
Yes.
And it's interesting that almost everything that's designed in this time of history is very ugly to my aesthetics.
In our time, as opposed to the 19th century design?
Yeah, I mean, there could be wonderful architecture still in the 19th century. There could be nothing now. There's nothing. I don't know what they're building. I mean, and what they say is great architecture, just it doesn't seem to hit me at all. But what was I forgot what I was really saying before because my mind wandered off into this stuff. But the Iron Horse, no, I never liked that smoke. And I grew up still with the Iron Horse going every night. I could hear it every 20 minutes, you know, on the tracks over my forest.
And you mean as a child hearing the train pass in the distance, did it ever have a romantic allure? Usually the sound of a passing train, especially in movies, usually is meant to conjure someone who's longing for escape or some exotic place.
Yes, and of course I understand that well. The only thing that I liked was to see the hobos who were still part of World War II, you know, many men who had escaped the army and so forth and wandered America with their Gala wine. And, you know, they ended up in my forest going to the train, and they would get on it just like in the movies. It was a very romantic sight. And most interesting is that it had near those tracks, it was really, you know, very, very forest-like, and it went through the forest, and there was magnificent poplar trees, 100 feet high. But at night I didn't care for it, and then at night I despised when the sack, they called it, you know, we were always worried about being bombed by Russia every minute. They did that to us very well. And I don't know about how the Russian had to put up with, you know, the fear from America. I don't know. I didn't live there, but I did live with the SAC Air Command, the whatever it was.
Was that an acronym for something?
Those bomber planes going, oh my God, watching watching those wonderful skies all night long, and you could hear the sonic boom.
Now,
Boom!
yes, thinking, David, again of trains.
I did never like Lionel trains or never.
No,
No,
see,
no,
now I
no,
have a
no.
very great fondness for
No,
Lionel
every
trains.
single mechanical thing.
Okay.
No matter if it was the electric, what do you call it? That set that you put the puzzle together. I got it for my birthday once. Even the photography thing.
Oh,
Someone
you
gave me
mean an erector set?
an erector set. I
Okay.
couldn't stand that.
All
And
right.
and then the all those chemicals and this and that
Yes.
for being a photographer. Well, there was no doubt that within me is a visual artist, but I certainly wouldn't want to be a photographer.
Well, David, forgive me. I just thought of something that I don't think we can avoid mentioning. Going back to art music and the notion of the locomotive being one of the symbols that seem to suggest to sensitive minds very early on something that would threaten the autonomy of the human being, not only in terms of its brawn and its muscle, but also perhaps its very notion of spirit and mind, is the legend that we have in American mythology of John Henry, which was treated by Copland in an orchestral piece, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the idea of the rail driver being eventually, am I mistaken in the
I
myth?
don't think so. No.
That he has to go up against a mechanical machine,
Mm-hmm,
and that's very much a railroad piece
mm-hmm,
where we can hear the piece accelerating.
mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the piece of Copland, John Henry?
No, no.
It's
I
an
just
orchestral
know
work.
about it. Yes.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the Pacific 231.
How is the
Of
train?
Honegger.
How is
Honegger,
the train invoked in that?
You know,
piece?
it starts soft and goes into a huge crescendo and all of that.
Does the piano literature bear any programmatic music?
Well, they would
In
call
relation to the train.
they would call Prokofiev staccato and things like that motoric
Yes.
music, motor energy, and so forth.
And Gershwin presumably claimed that the Rhapsody in Blue was conceived on the train between New York and Boston. Because of the trains,
Yeah.
I think his word was, it's rattly bang.
It gave him some rhythmical thing
Yes,
for the
uh-huh.
an idea for
Yes.
the. We don't know where these things come from.
True.
Brahms would say the inspiration comes very quickly, like a little acorn hitting your head, and oh, I have a musical idea, but that's just the beginning. Now, what do I do with it?
Yes.
Beethoven would hold on to a musical idea for a quarter century, and he knew exactly where he would use it eventually.
And do we think he relied on memory exclusively, or do we think his notebooks?
No, he sketched it. He
That's
sketched
what I
it out
thought.
usually. He didn't.
Yes.
You can't rely on memory because memory is an editor.
Almost instantaneously.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Almost everything that I have ever thought, which I thought was correct,
Mm-hmm.
if I saw that on film or if I saw that in a different way or someone told me about it, I would absolutely be amazed at how far off I was.
I've noticed that myself. I think of myself as having a strong memory, and I think we've discussed this. I don't know if we've discussed it here. When I feel that I'm convinced, even in the location in respect to pagination of a passage in a book, my brain within minutes will place it somewhere else so that when I'm searching for it and I'll think to myself, oh, that's on the right side
Yeah.
at the top, it'll maybe be on the left side at the bottom. And it's as if the creative element is already shifting the material. So I'm wondering, do you think we're born with something that we should relish, that we at the same time mistake for a faulty memory, which is in fact the creative element immediately metaphorically mixing the actual?
I think it's a great blessing to have the metaphoric memory, and what we have edited out is usually something that we didn't like, maybe in the dress of someone that you knew, and all of a sudden you realize that person never dressed like that.
Yes.
Something. No, the wonderful thing is the creative process, taking its blocks and its threads and its sewing machine and putting it together. Over a period of time, there has to be some relaxation for the unconscious to to sift through it. Sometimes you set back because you're looking for a quotation, and that quotation seems to mean everything in the paragraph, and you can't find it for weeks.
Yes.
And that bothers you. But you say to yourself, "Well, I know that book is here," and you'll get it with some effort. Because what's more important is you are not going to leave it out. So you've got to find it.
Yes. Do you
There's
feel
a certain integrity in the creative, metaphorical world of the memory. The memory that is common is the one that's, oh, I forgot that, or I forgot the number. Well, in my case, I don't want to remember most of the things. I don't have any phone numbers in my mind. I don't know any. I do know mine some of the time.
I understand.
Why would I want to have all these numbers cluttering my brain when I have to think about maybe writing an article?
Now, do you find, because you have your hand so masterfully in many forms of art, do you find when you return to the piano as a recreative artist, to a degree that we have to thwart that immediate metaphorical leaping when we try to suppress that in favor of memorizing something ruthlessly in sequence? I find that more difficult in age than I did in youth, because I think, to a degree, what we think of, when we talked about this maybe a week or so ago, sometimes I'll reproach myself for a lack of discipline or feel that I bore more easily, but at the same time then I'll shift and think, am I then thwarting my own will to synthesize something new in favor of simply proving that I can render this physical feat of ruthless sequence? It's something I can't reconcile, because I still admire it and want to do it enough to think that I have to do whatever that is. And as I mentioned to you, in returning to real extended practice, I find what I called the benign fatigue of it that I mentioned earlier today.
You said yes, and I hung on that phrase because it is beautiful.
Well, thank you. And what I meant by that in telling this...
You tell it because it says it all
when one
you were
works
practicing the B minor ballade of
Liszt, that I find that when I work as a writer and that there's some bit of capital, meaning something in memory that I know is saved and I want to use, and if I examine it, let's say the scent of rain from a childhood memory, and then I re-examine rain now, to a degree there's a tragic notion of expending even the sensitivity to that scent in giving it one's full poetic focus. However, I find when I'm indirectly addressing those things, by putting them aside, dismissing my notion of direct creation, let's say as a writer, and addressing recreative art, which has an immense physical aspect in addition to the focus one has to give it, that at the end of the day of practice, I find the better boon than perhaps maybe playing the piece well, or knowing the piece better, or keeping my fingers in shape, is after the 4th or 5th hour getting up and feeling a kind of what I call benign fatigue that resensitizes me, and I know no better thing than this, not even a time machine, to placing my senses back into that of a child, where everything becomes richer again. The scent of a carpet, even things that are slightly repellent, they become more pungent again and seem to be restored into metaphorical possibility. And I think it comes from the piano more than anything else. It demands tremendous focus, yet at the same time fusion with a kind of calisthenic engagement that can render us tired in the best possible way, and hence receptive.
And hence your phrase, benign fatigue.
Benign fatigue.
And you notice that when you have benign fatigue, even though you've worked hours, all you have to do is to get rid of that fatigue. Is no more than 15 minutes of very nice lying down.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, a thought will come to you, and you won't be lazy about getting up and acting on that thought. You will do it.
Yes.
And you will feel refreshed, even though now you don't have the benign fatigue. You have a new life coming to you with new perceptions.
Yes.
And that came from those hours of letting your psyche rest from all of the junk, and focusing is not always the way we want, but focusing much more so than we usually do. And you're seeing this again because you have not been practicing regularly for the last couple of years and you're back again.
Yes, exactly. So that I think we're all obliged, no matter how much we think we're going to isolate ourselves, to focus on the outward to a degree. So that when one practices, well, that's the best possible outward focus. So that the fatigue is going to seem the most rewarding. And you're right. Hence, it brings us to ourselves, even though we seem to be worshiping the rigid sequence of another man's thought.
Yeah.
I know nothing better than practicing.
Yeah, and let's go really deeper into that
Yeah.
for a second, because when you say other man's thought, you see, really it isn't an other man's thought when you are doing it. That other man is long dead, doesn't
Yes.
know you're playing,
Right.
or care, and he left a great work of art for you to decipher, and it's yours. I'm so sick of this idea that the pianist has to worry about the composer. They never really have, and they never really do.
Right.
They have a memory of looking at the markings. Remember, we just said we edited out very quickly.
Yes.
Unless you like so decide that every single marking will be there, which is quite nice. That's your first and only way to give birth to the composers and to his priority, hitting all the notes and knowing the dynamic markings. But really, mostly, as the piece becomes more and more a part of your interpretive equipment, your imaginative equipment, you don't really care any longer if that crescendo is there or not. It's just baby stuff.
Yes.
And a great performance relies on the character and bearing of the instrumentalist. And I think that when Arau said it was really that was going a long way for him. 50-50. 50%'s the composer when you hear it, and 50% is him.
That is
Well,
a big
really,
split.
It's really all you.
Yes.
Busoni is the one correct. Within seconds, I will know every fault that you have in your personality. Now, was he joking with us? Can it really be? Was his perception so much greater than ours? Yeah, probably. But maybe not either. But the main issue is, yes, he's going to find out something much more important than a fortissimo or pianissimo or sforzando. He's going to find out what your faults are as a human being. Think of the psychological confidence of the man to say such a thing.
That's remarkable. And do you think he could determine that he was seeing a man he could respect when he heard a flawed performance? Meaning, does he think he also would perceive high aims and virtue in a person who was limited as a performer?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I think too.
Yes, and you know there's a story where Egon Petri and him were at a Joseph Levine recital, and Levine was really splashing a lot of wrong notes.
Okay.
And you know how pianists oh God, yeah,
Yes.
that's so hard that Busoni was in that that mood, and he said, "I wish your wrong notes sounded as good as his."
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, we've got to get out of this subservience. There are no composers anymore left. I mean, there are thousands of people composing every day. It's very easy to do. It's not hard. A little musical gift will go a long way, and maybe if you're lucky, you'll have a because.
Explain.
Some,
I for some reason that escaped me. Now, what is the illusion you're making?
I just making that here's a little tune that can come out, and
Oh.
you can make a good song out of it.
I thought maybe you were quoting a popular song that I just wasn't quite.
No, I was just going to because of you. Because I don't know why.
Yes.
I don't know why I said that, but you see that I sang it in a sense. I don't know
Yes.
if it was on pitch or not. But the point is that these things are lurking in us in
Yes.
thousands of areas, and we can. The more sensitive and acute we are to digging it out instantly and not being afraid of repressing it.
Yes.
That's why writers are thought to be so boring as people compared to their writings. Well, that's also BS. because if you ever read the greatest interviews in the world, they're always by people interviewing writers because they think most.
Yes, and do you think the ostensible boringness is because that person is free of repression? They have expressed what others are only bottling up, and the people who are bottled up only give a faux impression of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only are they merely being quirky, but they'll take to their graves whatever poetry they have in them because they're not willing to commit
Too,
to the arduous notion of.
too frightened of the discipline, too
Yes.
frightened of the time cycle it takes. Maybe, there are people that, won't write a poem for 9 months and it may be agony for them, but that's foolish to think that it's agony. Hugo Wolf would have a very fruitful year and then bang, nothing, you see. Well, partly because the creative system had said it all, and now there's nothing there. It has to replenish for a year.
And we're talking about Hugo Wolf,
Hugo
the
Wolf,
songwriter.
a great songwriter,
Yes.
my God, and his piano accompaniments are incredible, right?
Yes.
There's so much for us to know just as listeners, let alone
Yes.
composers and interpreters.
And he, as good as his piano writing is for his songs, he never wrote any piano literature,
No, and that's a shame.
did he?
I don't understand that at all because it would seem that as the last great German leader composer, along with Strauss, Strauss has good piano parts too, but nothing of the sheer weight and pianism and sensitivity of Wolf. And I surely would have loved a big sonata by him. I think
Yes.
there's some movement. I
Okay.
don't know, but it's probably not good.
Okay.
Because everything that's good will be found by someone, and soon the next generation will. Oh, that's good. And soon you have a performing tradition of a piece.
Yes.
If you don't have that, and if it's not good, or just mediocre, you will never hear it because it's just not important to hear.
Well, I find that reassuring. So you do stand by the notion there are no forgotten masterworks or no neglected masterworks.
Oh well, there may be so and so within. There may be a Theodor Kirchner, a wonderful German miniaturist in the Schumann Mendelssohn tradition.
Of piano works.
Yeah, there may be some exquisite little things. There's a lot of Max Reger small pieces that are really wonderful, but we got into his concerto for piano and orchestra and his variations and so forth, and those big heavy Germanic Teutonic sets of variations on Telemann and on and that. But his little the six burlesques, I mean, these masterpieces.
I don't know
So
those.
I will always hold out that Dussek's Sonata in F sharp minor. Dussek dies in 1812, but he is a great forerunner of Romanticism. And if he has structural problems in his sonatas, so did Weber even. I mean, you can get only Beethoven and Schubert at the end was not locked by the form itself because it became so scholastic. So Weber was a man with great romantic imagery. Invitation to the Dance, Der Freischütz. I mean, he's a real romantic coming, from the classical forms, and his classical forms are just locked. They can't escape. They can't get air. Even the Great Invitation to the Dance is actually a rondo, and that rondo has kept it from being what a Chopin waltz is. You see.
You mean because he so rigidly felt a devotion to, let's say in the case of the rondo, saying I'm obliged to have A, B, A, C, A, D as my form. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The sonata, meaning he's going to have his exposition and his development and his recapitulation, then a slow movement, or a scherzo, and then a slow movement, and then a finale, which is a rondo. And so here, composers found a way that Bach or anyone else on instruments never had until Carl Philipp Emanuel started extending, aspects of the aria and the dances and put them into this new sonata form, which would then be developed by Haydn marvelously. Like a great new brain came about suddenly. The brain in the human evolution, they think, was so sudden. It was just like the sonata, the Haydn development sections were just phenomenal. They're much bigger than Mozart's and his symphonies, and they lead right to to the man who is, his middle name should be development. It's called Beethoven.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's finished for all time, the sonata form after Beethoven. But it's so attractive. As I said, I'm studying right now again. I played it 35 or 40 years ago, Cacciatorian Sonata, composed in 1961.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I learned the whole piece, and I must have learned it fairly well. But when I started again, remember we spoke about it a few weeks ago, I have an edition without the fingering that I put in another edition. And I couldn't do it. It just went very slowly. It was like absolutely a new piece.
Yes.
So 1 week later, or two, and I must have practiced it 7 times in the last, 13, 14 days. All of that work, I kept thinking, when is my work on this sonata of 40 years ago, 30, coming back to me? Maybe I don't even remember this piece. I don't even know what he was doing. Well, did I learn it poorly? Every day I play it a little faster without any thinking at all, and everything is coming back to my nervous system. It's now starting, in other words, what I thought would be, let's say, a year to play it well, would be 3 months if I worked on it every day, because it's already there.
Yes.
It's inside me. It's ready to go. It just needs a little bit of focus, slow practice, watch it. And I've already seen in the slow movement as I read through it, my sound and my perception of the piece, which I thought was like an inferior piece, is not. And I now know how to make a ring that I didn't know how, or wouldn't permit myself. Oh, that's too much pressure. Maybe the teacher would say, mezzo. No. You have to discard everyone's statements about what they're hearing and only do your own thing with it. If you want to play that fortissimo, and you know it's going to be in a big hall that will ring, play it. Don't be fettered by these markings. Certainly the metronome markings that he has are very good. They go to a peak of speed that it should, and it shouldn't go faster. Composer does know something about his work,
Sure.
but then give him up, because now you're using everything that he's told you, and your own personality must come out.
Well, let me ask you this. You said this piece is from 1961, and he calls it a sonata.
It's a real sonata, yeah.
How would you say a composer at that time is able to justify invoking that term?
He's not. Cacciatorian is a composer who relies on the savor of his melodic, rhapsodic folk music of Armenia, ancient, with 7 minor sevenths, major sevenths and minor seconds, abounding. That's his importance and nothing else. And what makes him a composer of an important minor league is that with the 6 ideas that he ever had, not many more than 6 ideas, and they are all in every work, no matter a slow piece or the long sonata. It's interesting that he is able to have his personality come out well in the long sonata, but yet its organization is so low compared to Beethoven's that it's crazy. It's just, and yet it's a 26-minute work, which with definite flaws of which now maybe I will be able to overcome.
When you say his organization is low compared to Beethoven, is that in part not because of his intellectual limitations, but because the tonal system has been so eradicated, he can't have recourse to opposing tonic and dominant. So how is he organizing his exposition? What is the contrast?
Same thing as Beethoven.
I mean, he has a tonic and dominant kind
Yes,
of
absolutely.
conflict?
It's a very rather strict sonata form
And so how and
with a large development section with new material. Then the recapitulation has you see and hear it, from two angles: the exposition and the new details that certainly Beethoven would give you in every recapitulation. That's why Tovey said you have to see the recapitulations with two different ears and eyes, because it's coming from the organic beginnings of the exposition, and it's now in new details as it fights its way to get to the home key.
tell me a little more about what you think Tovey means by seeing it with two sets of eyes?
Because now, you see, to get the human psychological security of the sonata form, it's a huge bulk of time, 25 or 30 minutes.
Right.
And so here he comes at the end. He's pushing now to bring you home to, in this case, he never has a key signature. He doesn't need it anymore. And yet it's, going to end in C major without a doubt, because that's the actual key. And so he has bitonality throughout, which, gives it its spice and gives it its minor third, its harmonic impacts. It's martellato, the constant hitting the chord. There's the saber dance tune in it. Everything is.
Okay.
He doesn't have much. If you know the Third Symphony of his, the Bell Symphony, which is really very heartbreaking piece, a huge 50-minute piece. Second Symphony called The Bells. I don't know the first. The piano concerto is absolutely. I don't know why it's not revived. It's sheer success.
Okay.
And the sonata is in many ways modeled after the concerto too. Same kind of material, but less important material. So that means, though, that you have to make it equally important to the saber dance when it comes, or to whatever else that he's doing. He keeps doing on diaton, and the diatonicism is very, very apparent in all of his music. He's not experimental at all, but yet this is a very creative man who has written fabulous allegro in the Tchaikovsky mold in his Spartacus ballet, Ghana ballet, symphonies. Not afraid of those big forms at all. And then the little pieces are very well honed. But he has only 5 ideas to work with his whole life.
Have we heard Khachaturian in other people's literature?
How do you mean?
Playing the works of other composers. Do we have recordings of Khachaturian playing other than his own music?
No, only conducting. He doesn't play.
He doesn't play. All right.
Violin's concerto really was struck performance is wonderful. Capel made himself famous through the piano concerto, the slow movement in its, they were like minstrels, roaming minstrels in Armenia in the medieval times. I think they were called ubshuks or something like that, and they formed this exotic rhapsodic style even there, and that's what all Armenian composers do. And that leads us to the great treasure chest. He's added another color, another folk color to the world stock. Grieg in Norway, and Ionescu in Romania, and Bartok and Godai in Hungary, Czech composers, Suk and Janacek, the greatest, on and on. They all have taken the soil of their land, and that's what we have the second half of the 19th century, which continues to this day. When when Villa-Lobos composed, he was a Brazilian. He really was. It started with Chopin's mazurkas.
Okay.
Then the Polish smetanas, polkas, things like that.
David, you mentioned Tovey. That's a frontier I know that I should address, or maybe not.
No.
Meaning his works don't have a hold on you. You cited his remark about regarding the recapitulation of sonata form.
Well, you see, that's such an interesting angle.
Yes, so you don't feel
No, but I like that a lot.
Right,
so
but
you have
his,
to read him. Yes, you have to read him.
oh, that's what I mean.
But let's say you're going to go to an analysis book of his, of the symphonies or the chamber music or the sonatas for piano, and you've got to really have the music with you because it's so detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly from his point of view, Charles Rosen in discussing certain pieces in the classical style, his book is 16 and 17 pages. These are serious guys.
Yes.
And you have to really be musically educated too.
So you would say reading Tovey is very comparable to reading Charles Rosen.
Yes, yes.
All right.
But both are good. Both really are wonderful theorists, and they provide wonderful analysis. Eric Blum, he was the editor of the one of the editions of Groves. He has a wonderful book on the Beethoven sonatas. Then there are books by pianists such as Edwin Fischer. Everything you read is helpful.
Now,
Doesn't mean that you agree even.
right. I guess I'm in awe of the lore of Tovey and his memory.
Yeah, Tovey was so great a musician that Casal said he never knew a greater one.
And presumably, wasn't he able to recall almost anything from the literature, going to the piano and isolating parts?
Oh yeah, he had it all, and he was a brilliant intellect, a very very hard writer, not an easy style, but everything he says is so actually thought out. You know that he's just living within the. He wrote a cello concerto, which Casals played. 50, 60 minutes, a classical form, very classical. You wouldn't think it was written in the 20th century. And then there's the piano concerto also, bigger than the Brahms B flat, things like that. And the quality is very fine, but you're not going to get pianists to do it because it's old-fashioned formally.
Do you know the Tovey Piano Concerto through his own playing?
No, through a long ago heard disc.
Okay.
Just like the Furtwängler, not through his own playing, but conducting it. Edwin Fischer played the Furtwängler Piano Concerto. Another 60-minute.
Oh, wow.
Gruesome giantism.
Any evidence of Tovey's piano playing from your...
There must be a lot, but I don't know any. I've never heard him play.
Okay. All right.
That's a good question. I've never heard Sir Donald Francis. God, he was so revered.
Because Chasins gives him a whole chapter in the book on speaking of pianists.
Oh, really? I have to read that again then.
So I thought maybe there was a recorded body of work from him, but perhaps
No.
I've never encountered it.
No, I never even saw in all of my gazings any piano playing by Tovey.
All right.
Okay, so I think we've been talking about music, and I think that people that want to know about music really can get some deep talk on it as we do. What I said about the Cacciatorian is very interesting because he really does fill very well a 3-movement work nearing 30 minutes. And he uses all of his material. He doesn't apologize that he's not, but he surely is writing pseudo-classical sonata form. It's been long done. It has no need ever to come back into the world of any composer.
All right, then here's my question for you. Outside of just saying Beethoven is the finish line, when does it become truly pseudo when a composer invokes?
Schumann,
Yes, okay.
Brahms, in a incredible way that you absolutely think it is Beethoven, born again.
But it's pseudo because it's not
The form
adhering to the circle of fifths stresses?
No, the sonata is not a form that has to be taken without flexibility. It's a form that could grow. Look at Schubert's last five sonatas are totally different than Beethoven's, and yet these are great sonatas. He used the form with his lyric talent, and yet said something new in the Viennese tonality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as it got more and more chromatic, and you look at the development sections of the Chopin sonatas, and you know, everyone wants to say, "Oh, they're good." They used to say they were bad, and they are bad for the material can't fit.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Copland said that Scriabin's themes and so far are among the most inspired things in music, but he made this terrible mistake in trying to make them uniformly fit into a sonata. And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like to say that because we love the music so much. But part of the psychological problem of an audience listening to it, they are not convinced unconsciously that the music is tight enough or organic enough.
And that's because the composer is trying to fulfill an obligation of an antiquated form.
They want to be able to go past 2 minutes.
Oh.
That's the real
Well,
reason.
then who are some of the other composers that you feel are victims of inherited form?
Everyone. That's why this sonata is so marvelous.
Yes.
He gives you a whole brand new look at large scale.
Well, so
it's the largesse of the sonata that's
yes.
important.
Well, what's amazing, at the risk of going down the path again about the sonata of Liszt, it seems to invoke every obligation and yet in no way obligate itself to the sequence of those things, and yet they are also in that place. I would venture that it is the greatest work in Western civilization that violates our notion of left to right sequence, and yet it unfolds through time.
Yeah, and Liszt would understand what you're saying. I don't think anyone else here except me, because there exactly is a new way of listening to time.
Yes.
Through the principles of the sonata, which are innately flexible, but only, well, Clementi, great sonata composer, but they're all stolid, they're all stiff. He has to fight the form. That's the great form of the century, because they had to write instrumental music. Bach didn't write 3 minutes, anything more than 3 minutes or 4 minutes in his dances or
right.
his preludes to the fugues, and most fugues are also 3 minutes. Like, he couldn't get beyond that because polyphony didn't know how. He didn't know how. Beethoven knew how to take, and then of course in the Hammerklavier he gives you a new view of the sonata's flexibility with a fugue. Think of it. He's the big boy.
Certainly is.
Oh, he's the big boy. You know, it has nothing to do with I like Beethoven or not like Beethoven. Beethoven is the big boy. And if you don't know that, you better start listening carefully or studying him, because this is actual perfection.
Do you think, David, that anyone, let's take the piano works, for example, can ever really know, and I don't mean this as a slight to Beethoven's oral achievement, but can ever know the breadth of his achievement if they also don't engage with the tactile obligation of having to execute it as it existed when he composed those pieces? Because we know he never anticipated a world in which someone could experience it completely divorced from the executant. Do you think he ever conceived it where a person would ever be wrestling with these notions of reconciling tonic and dominant in just an oral way, when he had the complete notion of always feeling it in his body and his fingers?
No, we do too.
We do, but so few people are willing to go to the piano and have that battle.
Well, even in Beethoven's time, there was a woman, a little eccentric woman in Vienna, and she played a lot of Beethoven, whatever she could. And then Hammerklavier comes along, and she complains, and it gets back to Beethoven that she's been working months just on the opening of the Hammerklavier and still can't play it.
That comes to us through Czerny, that story, doesn't it?
I don't know.
I think
Probably.
it may.
Czerny was always a pretty honest man.
Right.
So what we
But we have to credit that woman. Do we feel that that woman, in a sense, is more engaged with the aural greatness of the first bars of the Hammerklavier for having to know at what price that leap from that low B flat to that first 6/4 chord in the left hand invokes?
yeah.
So, do we feel that as great as the recorded legacy is, it constantly wounds the person who really deeply wants to engage with it? Better, perhaps, as we're saying now, to engage with just those first few bars than to be flown up the mountain in a helicopter.
Yes. What is the main work of the pianist, the concert pianist? What is the main work? It's the Beethoven sonatas.
Mm-hmm.
A few sets of the variations, of course, but all the sonatas, every generation will have people giving their lives. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
Giving your life to these sonatas, and you do this not for status, not for glory, not for. Yes, he would like to possibly play it in cycle, but that took many years too. Liszt played all 32, but never in a cycle of 7 concerts or something, or 8 concerts. But every generation knows in their blood, if they're real musicians, that this is the big time. That this is the greatest music has to offer, and you select what you can do. There's just not that many people that could do the Hammerklavier well, or the 101, or the expansiveness of beauty in the Opus 111. It doesn't matter if your temperament is not Beethovenian. Maybe you just love Liszt or Chopin or Wagner. But if you're serious, your body will know. It's got to, just like Wagner's body knew how great Beethoven was. I mean, he's the luminary. He stops everything. He does it all, but he's still the luminary for all these subjective composers who are trying indeed to put beautiful melodies into the sonata form, but they don't work there. They want so much to have the big form, but they don't work there. Chopin's nocturnes only at the most can be the size of 6 minutes. You see, that kind of thing. The preludes could be 30 seconds. But Chopin's sonatas, Schumann is not wrong when he says he just put together 4 of his wildest children. The first movement's a magnificent edifice. The second, a perfectly marvelous. Then the funeral march, nothing.
You mean we're going back to Chopin?
Yeah,
again, the
he
funeral march.
just becomes a descriptive composer in there. There's no formal interest, and we have the funeral march and the beautiful, if usually saccharine melody in the trio, and it's the easiest form to do the scherzo, the movement with ABA in the trio, and the actual scherzo of Chopin that comes in the second movement is absolutely fantastic. Then comes that Bachian canonic, unison, 1.5 minutes. Well, Beethoven would say, "Okay, boy, can't you get it more? Can't you make this fabulous material, which everyone knows is genius? Can't you make it into something longer?" No, he couldn't.
Yes.
So Anton Rubinstein says, "Oh, it's the winds over the grave," meaning the funeral march. He didn't have to say funeral march. There's no form for a funeral march.
No.
Except possibly the Beethoven funeral march of the Eroica, which is a little bit overboard even to criticize, but it's like I'm too much here
Mm.
in the whole scheme.
Now, if Beethoven had lived longer, what kind of imposition of his presence may have impeded?
It would have, of course, because he was the only great music presence in Vienna. He didn't have to go out every day and say it. The whole city knew it. That's why when he died, there was 30,000 people going to that funeral.
I remember a remark years ago. I don't know if we spoke about it here, but I thought it was a remarkable answer that you gave. I asked you what you thought Beethoven would make of, for example, Copland's piano variations. And I thought your answer was really great.
Oh, what was that?
You immediately said you felt that he would grasp very quickly the intentions, but he wouldn't see the need.
Absolutely, yes. He would photograph it instantly and know it from memory every minute of it, every second, every 13 of the 13 minutes. But he also knew there was no need, because the Copland Variations is limited in the sense that it is all only showing you the bleakness of the industrial America that he's writing it in. The most bleak thing in the 1930, he writes it, was there anything like any... It was a horrible country with the dust bowls raging, the bleak industrial slums of the cities.
So you think that was Copland's intentions? Was extra musical? It was
No,
programmatic?
oh no! It became that. It became that in his very blood. That's why it's such a great music.
So you feel that...
But Beethoven would not have thought it has any meaning for... Beethoven would not have known bleak industrial America.
Right, but what I'm just going really directly to the Copland Variations. You feel something extra musical and narrative and personal and autobiographical made Copland make something that was so perfectly abstract?
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. And
that's why Copland loved it most.
He felt that was one of his greatest works?
Yeah, he knew that, yes, and he recorded it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's...
Why do you think
it's 100 years old almost, yes. and it's going strong. I have no interest in it. There's no loveliness or suavity or exquisite melody or refinement or what many other composers have. It is truly Copland at his greatest individuality.
Now, do you think it's just from my own naivete that because I have a familiarity with most of the body of Copland's work, that when I hear that, I can also hear the pastoral in that, in a more severe way, like the woods before they bloom, when they have a grim look, just like the way the Manhattan skyline can in this kind of gray March. Or is that just me being childish?
No, I think that all of this is, built into a personality that lives in the time where Copland had these strains in him. I mean, nobody ever got the Prairie or whatever it's called, or
well, yes, that's what's so baffling.
The Fanfare for the Common Man. What a wonderful title. There is no common man. All men are common, but unless they're Beethoven. But
well, yeah. Do you think his Fanfare for the Common Man is an imaginary, exalted commoner?
Oh, absolutely. Copland was hardly a commoner.
No, well, absolutely.
And yeah, he was a Democrat. He understood that this was a country built on these forces of equality and so forth, and he certainly admired and did a great job with the Lincoln portrait. He went out on stage and he was in his little Brooklyn accent. He did a good job.
Yes,
and he conducted it well, but I think the sweep and grandeur of the Third Symphony, of which he also uses the fanfare at the end.
In the third movement, yes.
Wonderful.
Or the last movement.
Why would they keep saying, where is the Great American Symphony? Well, there it is.
The Third Symphony of Copland.
There's Schumann's third. There's Harris's third.
Yes.
There are many great American symphonies, many great American novels. No one is waiting for it. It's already been here, and nobody's reading them.
Right.
Or listening any longer.
Yes. David, does anyone ever try to bring the Copland Variations to your Tuesday classes?
No, but I heard it many times at Juilliard, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you think that piece is on its way out?
I think it's on its way out, yes.
That's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. It had its huge span of 100 years. Bernstein, everyone, Maselos, everyone got it
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to play it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't because it was the abstract period of Aaron or anything else. It spoke to these people,
Mm-hmm.
just as a Beethoven sonata speaks to everyone.
Do you think now there are masterworks of the 20th century in which we have acknowledged that it belongs in the canon, that we could present to Beethoven where he would neither feel the need nor grasp it? In other words, are there things that have become so removed that even the universality of a Beethoven would find himself trapped in his time and unable to recognize the need for its creation and how it could also fulfill from that need a great abstraction outside of its time? Any pieces spring to mind that you think?
I don't know. I'll have you bring to mind anything you think. I do think that we're all products of our time in one
Yes.
way or another, and I'm not going to say that Beethoven would throw his iPhone away or anything like that. I don't
Mhm.
know what he was. He had more levels than I have in myself, or most people have. Would he accommodate himself to the new art
Mm-hmm.
that had generated after him? Would he have liked even Schumann? No, nothing would be special about it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Would he like Brahms? He would just say, just like Brahms, it's just an imitation Beethoven, you know.
Mm-hmm.
How can I compose a symphony with the master trotting behind me?
Mhm.
See, I mean, then he gets to Stravinsky. Well, he says, this is just Russian tunes or something. Oh yeah, if you hear it in the two piano version, you'll hear Debussy's harmonic system. That's Stravinsky took everything
Yes.
as Beethoven did, but you see, Stravinsky is as great as he is for this century. He's nothing compared to Beethoven, and Beethoven would know that because there has not been. And Wagner's a theater composer. He's a great master of many things, psychologically and so forth. But he didn't grow as the fever in his blood went down, and the girls didn't enchant him. He couldn't get all the girls he wanted. That was everything in his life.
Mm-hmm.
They would bring in a certain woman from Paris to titillate him, you see,
Mm-hmm.
so he could go on with Parsifal. Well, Parsifal's a great religious act, but it's a wimp composing compared to Liszt loved it. Liszt loved every minute of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a wimp composing a tradition that had died.
Mm.
It had died. It's over with.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing more than Wagner could say. And Wagner was never, as you know, a rhythmical master. Beethoven looked up every night and he saw the rhythm of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in sonata form.
Mm. That's something you've mentioned before. That as much as we can say about Wagner in terms of harmony and the conceptions there, that there's a rhythmic absence. And do you think that's because of the form he chose, that he has to be obligated to the legato of opera, and that in a sense smothers the rhythmic obligations, or not obligations, but
I don't know any pure musician who has any great interest in opera. I was sitting in front of, or behind George Pearl, who was a friend of mine, and he's one of the really master composers of our time. He wrote two fantastically 25 years it took each book, I think, on Berg's Wozzeck and Berg's Lulu. And we were at the Opera House. I don't know. I think it was Wozzeck.
Okay.
And he was sitting in front of me, and I said, George, but do you really like opera?
Mm-hmm.
Of course not. Just these two.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yes.
As Henry Miller would say, don't you see?
Well, yes, I've heard the remark that Wagner would be great if it wasn't for all the singing.
Of course not. That's all he loved that singing. He was
Oh, so you feel the opposite then, in the sense it's really only the theatrical element.
yeah, but he had no ability to write a symphony or a sonata or instrumental music like Brahms.
Isn't there an early Wagner piano sonata?
Yeah, there's a piano sonata. It's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Hungerford recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
All the music for the piano has been recorded several times.
Okay.
An album sonata for Maria Weisendonck, his lover.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible love affair. I mean, what he put people through,
Mm-hmm.
that man.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Fantasia, and there's an actual symphony.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's Haydn and it's sprightly. It's thousands were composed like that.
Yes.
See, what Beethoven and the sonata, especially the sonata, gave to composers a very easy way to write a long piece.
Mm.
Well, you just do. Here's a minuet. You know how the trio. Change the key.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a rondo, A, B, B, C, maybe a coda.
Mm-hmm.
How tuneful it is, I mean, maybe it's not, maybe it is, maybe, There's only one Mahler, and he just becomes so grandiloquent that, he, outside of his purely instrumental music and Das Lied von der Erde, which is an integrated work of art, his greatest work, to me, of course. Remember, all of these things are only my point. I can change my mind tomorrow. As Baudelaire said, the human rights are two that should be always abided by. One is, if you're bored, leave. Please leave.
Yes.
I don't want to bore you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to learn something about music, you can at least disagree with me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we're having a good time.
Yes.
Let's talk about the hideous war that has been going on. I don't want to get into a 5-day war, but I can say that whoever we bombed there is a much more formidable enemy than our leader.
Well, I don't know.
Knows.
We made a pledge, David, that we were going to not try to date our episodes too much with the current events.
No, there'll always be, and as
Right.
long as you live here, there'll always be a war.
Well, I understand that.
I've lived a long time, and there's never been an hour that we're not in a war of some type.
Well, that's true. So that's why I'm going to say, and not because I simply want to dodge any particular thing, but I'm craving to hear that reading that we deferred from last week.
Well, I did read it in my class.
Can we hear it here?
Yeah, absolutely. Here it is. I
Okay.
thought I would do it. Because if there's anything that I've ever hated more than war, I don't know what it is.
All right.
The idea of a war, of people killing each other, or I don't get it. I
understand.
can't get it. And this is Havelock Ellis. He's a wonderful writer of the first quarter of the 20th century. And it's a book called, I should let you know, Impressions and Comments, and it's rather like a diary in a way. And this is June 20th, and the war is over. First World War is over. That war we're still not done with. Believe me, we're still feeling from it, and we still have losses from it. But anyway, he writes. I underline these things. And who are these heroes? You see, Biden would say, and God bless our American heroes in foreign, always these heroes. There's no hero that has a rifle in his hand or a gun. You never are a hero. Who are these heroes? They are the men to whatever nation belonging, who were willing to be driven like sheep at the bidding of military imperialists in order to blast the world, who flung aside that personal responsibility, which might be the divine prerogative of their species, cheerfully becoming machines to the slaughter, loot, rape, and crush into the nervous impotence every living thing within their reach. It gets worse and worse the more you kill. who have by their presence killed the sweetness and fruitfulness of every spot of earth they have swarmed over, and therein destroyed every achievement of human skill that could be destroyed, who have come near to undoing all the effortful attainments of graciousness and civility. You know, you want to get rid of Mozart? The ages had slowly wrought. It was so hard to make us even use a spoon or a fork, you know. Who have made all life so far as their hands could touch it. On the side they fought for as much as on the side they fought against. Something fouler than Dante ever fabled of hell. These are the creatures. These are the heroes. The creatures, slaves of slaves, mere clay in the hands of phrasemongers, who are the heroes of man. They are the heroes. These men and their idiot hold over people's monotony.
What do you make of Lincoln's phrase from the Gettysburg Address, addressing those who gave the last full measure of devotion?
I think nothing of it. I think that it's great literature.
Mm.
I think that Lincoln was the dictator of the Union States. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll agree with
Well,
me.
it's a fascinating thing to
He's
talk about.
he's certainly
Yeah.
not a president of the
Okay.
United
Mhm.
States.
Mhm.
For many, many years, we had an occupied territory called the South.
Mm.
Lynchings continued. Every single harm that could be done to a group of people have been done, be it the blacks or the probably now they estimate 7 million Jews were destroyed in the most marvelous utilization of the word efficiency that ever has been.
Mm.
How could anyone ever who says I love Beethoven or Bach think there could be a war? How do we stop the war is the biggest thing of all. Is there any bigger topic?
I just don't know what to reply when we go down this path because I don't know how to
I
address
don't either.
human nature.
I don't either.
Yes.
You know, but when they say what's the hope, and I'm the 1st to say hope is a cheat. What are we going to do? How you know what the reformers have done? They've made it worse.
Mm. Well,
And that's one of
Yes.
the reasons that all of these political programs are basically so boring.
mm-hmm.
These pundits on television saying the same thing each day for 6 hours. Tomorrow they're waiting for something worse. Of course, the populace of this country are confused, depressed. It's the sickest country in the world as to physical health, without any government interference and help. I mean, and you could die on the street; they wouldn't really care. You just have. Wait till they find out that this foe, unfortunately, this foe is much bigger than they know.
What foe are we referring to?
Iran. It's a formidable military force. You remember they were at war for 10 years with Iraq.
Well,
What do you say, ladies and gentlemen?
well, we can, yes, encourage people. We have some very astute comments from a limited group of listeners, some of whom make great efforts that we appreciate, and we're still hoping on Substack, Spotify, and YouTube to gain more who feel that liberty to write to us and would love to hear that engagement.
I would love to know that we would not have a world without Beethoven. That's my big,
Okay, well,
I'm not interested in finding out how many of our warriors, you know what a warrior is? Crazy Horse was
Right.
a warrior.
True, but don't you think he could have also been the victim of his zeitgeist of the
Oh,
plains?
sure, of course he was.
Okay.
I'm not. We can't win on this topic. That's why
Okay.
all we know is well, Lincoln was a dictator. Oh, he was the greatest American patriot. In other words, these phrase mongers have made these names, and they don't perish.
He certainly was an incredible poet in disguise.
Him.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Had no business being in politics. He should have been an artist.
He certainly has that strain.
Oh, he is
in,
one of the greatest prose writers.
Sometimes it can come over one in such an unsuspected moment.
Yeah,
One of
Abraham
his
Lincoln is an
phrases.
artist.
Yes. Where all of a sudden a simple phrase, the better angels of our natures. He has a music over English.
He's a big talent.
Yes.
Misplaced.
Hmm.
He wanted to, he wanted his glory. But you have to understand, glory was a big thing of the war then.
Mm-hmm.
What's glory now? Nothing.
True.
Nothing. There is no glory in anything. There is no country.
Mm.
What country are we in? Does it matter? As long as I'm left alone to practice, I will stay anywhere.
All right.
Just don't bother me.
Okay.
Jack, it's been as usual. Such fun.
I feel the same, David, so I'm looking forward to episode 42.
Let's keep working on the list, Bilad.
I will.
That is what I call productivity.
Well, I owe that to you, David. I think it's Samuel Johnson who said that nothing makes a man get his affairs in order like a hanging. So by giving me a date in which I know I have to go on the platform for good or for ill,
Yeah.
I will be ready as best as I can.
Well, if you want to come and see Jack play in my class, April what?
That'll be April the 21st for the Liszt B minor at Milan.
Oh, I can't wait. We haven't had that in the class at all.
I think you mentioned that.
Yeah, and I want to say it's at 123 West 71st Street. It's a nice church. It has bathroom facilities easily to go.
Wow, okay.
For all the people that are old,
Okay.
that can't walk up steps.
Yes.
I mean, I do understand all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a beautiful Grotrian on Steinweg piano,
Yes.
which you've played the Ives on.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And do look at, it's called pianoevenings.com.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to my radio shows and certainly buy every painting that you can, because when I die, they are going to be hugely expensive,
I think they should be.
Yeah.
As they will be.
But I won't know about it, damn
Well,
it.
I think you may know way before that time comes.
No.
All
I
right.
want to say thanks.
Oh, David, thank you. All right. Till next time.
Till next time, thank you for listening.
Thank you.